Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down. Wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and we got the matchup we all wanted in the Final Four. We got Duke and North Carolina in Coach K's last year. I mean, this is going to be really exciting. This is a matchup where, you know, a couple months ago we never thought this was even going to be possible to have this matchup. But Duke ran through the West region. I mean, they had tough games with Texas Tech and Michigan State, but they were able to beat Arkansas convincingly. And North Carolina. And I knew when they got into that region with Baylor. I knew when they got, was that the South region, right? In North Carolina, it's the East region. East region. When they got that East region with Baylor, I knew they had a shot to beat Baylor. And once they got to the Sweet 16, you knew they had a shot to make a run to the Final Four. They definitely benefited from St. Peter's pulling that upset, and then they beat UCLA in the Sweet 16. But then they ended up beating St. Peter's. They're in the Final Four. The big question, Justin, is Saturday night going to be the biggest college basketball game of our lifetimes? And it might be the biggest college basketball game of all time. I think it is because of the storylines. I think because this is Coach K's last game. It's Duke, North Carolina. Duke, North Carolina is the game that, even if you're just a casual college basketball fan, you watch. Now the stakes are this high. We've never had Duke and North Carolina play with the stakes this high. So that's why I think this is the biggest college basketball game of our lifetime. But, Justin, is it?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think it is as well. Yeah, Duke, North Carolina, first time they're ever playing a tournament. This is the last rodeo here for Coach K. This could be it for him on Saturday night. Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, it's one of the biggest rivalries of all sports. You kind of, you know, obviously in college sports, it's North Carolina, Duke. In college basketball, it's one of the best. It's two fan bases that, you know, very passionate, that have deep college basketball history, that cannot stand one another. And yeah, Saturday night with these two going at it, it's probably going to be the best college basketball game so far of our lifetime. With all the storylines and with it, it hopefully is going to be a really, really good game.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be a really, really close game between these two teams. But before we predict the game, we'll get into some of the keys to the game for both teams. And first we'll talk about if we're surprised if North Carolina got to the Final Four. For me, I am, because I saw them 2 months ago against Duke. They looked the furthest thing from a Final Four team. Yes, they pulled the big upset in Cameron on that last Saturday of the regular season. But then they lose to Virginia Tech in the semis of the ACC tournament. I know their bracket worked for them getting Baylor. I think that really helped them getting Baylor. But I am still surprised that this North Carolina team did get to the Final Four.
Yeah, I am too. Now, I always thought they had the talent to be a Final Four team. They just underachieved all season, especially in the ACC that was just so down this year. I thought them and Duke should have been like the two dominant teams that should have just ran away. But yeah, you mentioned they got blown out at Duke at home. I think they lost by 25 or 30 at Wake Forest. They gave up 100 points to Wake Forest. Miami blew them out by like 28. Like, there were some really, really stinkers in there for North Carolina. They never really put it together. And, you just got a guy like Brady Manick and, RJ Davis played well. Caleb Love has played well. They've just caught fire. And that's kind of what you need in the tournament. And I think Hubert Davis doing a little bit better of a job. This could be like an Ollie situation where it's like his assistant coaches are running the show, because I don't really know his assistant coaches well enough to kind of, know what they're all about and all that. But yeah, I think he's doing a little bit of a better job. You mentioned too with the bracket. Yeah, Baylor's just banged up all season. They almost blew a 25-point lead. UCLA, they held on against, and then they benefited greatly from Purdue and Matt Painter absolutely just choking once again. And, they got away with it. So, yeah, their bracket, they're able to kind of get away with it with kind of everything that went their way. And, yeah, here they are. And, again, in Coach K's final season, I'm not surprised that it was thrown this way and that this matchup is happening.
Yeah, everything's falling in line for Coach K. Yeah. Gonzaga losing in the West region. Purdue losing before they played North Carolina. And now Duke playing North Carolina for the in the national semi. And then in the other semi, you got Kansas and Villanova. And guess who Coach K beat in his first national title? He beat Kansas 31 years ago. So it's against Roy. But it's all setting up. And I think everything's setting up in Duke's favor. I think it's really setting up in Duke's favor. But before we talk about Duke, we'll talk about what North Carolina has to do to win this game. What's the biggest thing North Carolina has to do to win the game? And in my opinion, their guards have to play really, really well. In the game, RJ Davis and Caleb Love, they have to play really well. Because in the game they lost in Chapel Hill, they only combined to score 19 points. In the game they won at Cameron, they scored a combined 43 points. And obviously, Caleb Love had that huge game in the Sweet 16 against UCLA. RJ Davis had that humongous game in the second round against Baylor. So I think the guards are the key. And also Brady Manick has to play really well again. Brady Manick has been great against Duke all year. I think he's had 2 games where he scored over 20 points against Duke. I think Brady Manick has to play really well again. That's what I think North Carolina has to do to win the game. Justin, what do you think North Carolina has to do to win this game?
Yeah, their guards are, Davis and Love and Brady Manick. Those three have to continue to kind of be forces offensively for him, be able to put points. For me, I think it's Mardio Bacot, the big guy down low. I think if he could stay on the floor and stay out of foul trouble, and he's going to be able to defend, Mark Williams, because Mark Williams kind of been doing whatever he wants in this tournament so far. He's got to go up against a guy like Brady Manick, who's going to be as physical with him. He's going to be as strong as him. Bacot, I know it's against St. Peter's. The guy still had 22 rebounds, which is really impressive. I think, he's just tremendous rebounder, tremendous finisher. I think they need Bacot to stay on the floor in this game if they want to change. Because they're going to have to, because what Duke's kind of been doing is a penetration, feeding it off to Mark Williams. If Bacot stay on the floor, that's going to be a difficult thing to be able to kind of go back to every time, because Bacot is physically strong enough to defend that.
And I think you made a great point with Bacot, because we know in domes, because this will be played at the Mercedes-Benz, we played at the Superdome, it's tougher to shoot in domes. That's why post play, especially when you get to the Final Four, is actually very important. If you could have an inside game, and say Bacot gets into foul trouble, and Carolina has a rough night shooting the ball, there's no way they're going to win. It's the other way around too. Say Bacot does a good job containing Mark Williams, and Duke struggles to shoot the ball. But even though Duke has problem like Carroll who can get to the basket, still, I think if they can't shoot well and Carolina can contain Mark Williams, North Carolina has a good chance to win. So that was a really good point with Armando Bacot, because interior scoring I feel like is big, especially in the Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a point to bring up later, especially for game number 2. Yeah, because usually you see that both teams kind of struggle in this Final Four. They're just not, the domes are not used to playing in front of, like, I think what Mercedes-Benz holds like 75, 80,000. They're not used to type of, arenas that big. It's just, you've seen it a lot in the Final Four, especially in like the first halves of games. Guys just kind of just struggle to shoot. So, yeah, I completely agree. The post play is going to be crucial. Both teams got great big guys that are going to be able to they're going to have to be able to stay on the floor, finish down low, get offensive rebounds, try to get some second chance points. Yeah, that's going to be a huge key in this game. And, being with how both teams kind of know each other a lot, it's going to be physical down low. So, getting on the line, it depends how they're calling the game now. There's 2 really bad refs in the Final Four I saw. So, James Green from the UConn Villanova game, and then Bo Borowski does a lot of Big Ten games, which he does not get a lot of compliments from the coaches as well. So there's 2 very poor officials. I don't know what game they're doing, but that is something to keep our eye on too, with the fouls and all that, and kind of physicality down low.
Absolutely. So for Duke, I think the biggest thing for them is, obviously I think Ben Caro is going to have a good game. He's a great player. But they're going to need 2 out of their 4 other guys in that rotation. They kind of have they pretty much have a 7-man rotation, but they really have 6 guys who could score. So 2 of those 4 guys gotta have good games. Either Wendell Moore, Mark Williams, AJ Griffin, or Trevor Keels. 2 of those 4 have to have a good game. They need like 3 consistent scores, I feel like, to win this game. Also, they got to contain Brady Manick. Brady Manick has been destroying them. He destroyed them the first 2 games. They need to contain Brady Manick. And also, I'll add another point for Duke. They got to try to contain Armando Bacot. If they can contain Armando Bacot, I think as we said, that I think North Carolina's going to have a really, really hard time winning the game, because they're going to have to rely on their shooting. And in a Final Four, you don't want to completely rely on your shooting. You want to have an inside game. But Justin, what is your key to Duke winning this game?
Yeah, my keys for Duke is, scoring wise, I think, as you mentioned, they need 2 of those 4, more Keels, Big Caro Williams to have big days. And also, I think a guy like Jeremy Roach, who's played really well in the tournament. He's been a guy that's kind of emerged at that guard spot, which they've kind of needed. They've kind of missed that point guard really all year, and I thought it was one of their flaws, and he's really helped them out in the tournament. I think he needs to continue to play well in this game. I think
we got Jared taking UNC and the points. I could see that happening. I think it's a 4.5. I'm pretty sure 4.5. Duke's a 4.5 point favorite. I could definitely see UNC winning the game. The way UNC has played late in the season, I definitely could see that happen, especially covering. I very easily could see them covering. Maybe not winning, but covering that 4-point spread. It very easily could be under 4 points. I definitely could see them covering.
Yeah, I could too. North Carolina's won 16 of the last 19 now down the stretch here, so they've played really good basketball. February, March. I know they kind of that sinker against Virginia Tech, but since then they've played really well. They destroyed Marquette. They played really well against Baylor for the first 36 minutes or so. I could totally see North Carolina, covering this game, possibly even winning. Again, it's a rivalry game. It's a Final Four. You never know. Again, we mentioned too with the Dome shooting wise, Duke could have a bad day, and North Carolina kind of takes advantage of that. But going back to the points for mine as well, Mark Williams got to stay out of foul trouble, because Theo John has really struggled. And another kind of going back to, post play, with Theo John's in there, it is much easier to score on Duke when Theo John's in there to get, finishing around the rim. Jerry's kind of, or take UNC to win outright, then hedge the bet. It'll be close enough at some point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think both those bets would be good bets.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it should be a toss-up. And being a rivalry game, it should be really, really close. But with Theo John too down low, he struggled interior defensively. I think that's something where if he's on the floor a lot because Mark Williams is in foul trouble, I think that could really hurt Duke in this game. And North Carolina could be able to finish around the rim a lot or get to the line. So I think it's another one. Mark Williams got to stay on the floor. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. And then number 3 for Duke, I think it just continue to play relaxed. You've really seen that the last, pretty much since they've entered this tournament. It's been a different team. They've played a lot. It seems like everything's kind of just been lifted off their shoulders. They got to continue to play like that. Again, it's going to be a whole different environment. I think the teams arrived last night. So it's today, tomorrow, Friday, if all media, it's all talking about this. you kind of just got to stay level-headed till then and kind of just continue to play relaxed. They really have the last 2 weeks, but again, they come out, play tight Saturday night. It's going to be very, very tough to beat the North Carolina team because, again, they would love to bring down Duke and kind of be the finisher of Mike Krzyzewski and his career. But, again, they're an 8 seed. There's not really a lot of pressure on them. I guess there is somewhat because, to try to knock out Coach K here. But really, Duke's got all kind of the pressure on them right now, and they just got to continue to play relaxed.
Yeah, but you talk about how they've been a different team in this tournament, and they haven't had the pressure on them, as much pressure on them as they did in the regular season. I'm thinking now that pressure might be coming back, knowing that all the hype this game is getting. Duke, North Carolina, potentially being Coach K's last game. You saw what happened when Duke was under a ton of pressure on that last game at Cameron. Could that happen again? I
could possibly see it, especially if this thing gets close. Especially if this thing kind of the closer North Carolina is. Again, I have to imagine every Kansas and Villanova person, but whoever wins that Kansas Nova game, whoever's still sitting in that building, is probably voting for North Carolina. Because usually you're a Duke fan or you hate Duke. So everybody's probably in that building is going to be voting for North Carolina inside Duke. And I know there's going to be a ton of Duke fans there. There's no doubt about that. But, yeah, I think the closer that gets, the tighter this thing gets. Yeah, again, North Carolina's got some veteran guys in there. Caleb Love, Baycott's a junior, senior. RJ Davis a junior. Leaky Black's a senior. Duke, they got a lot of freshmen in there. I know Mark Williams is a sophomore, but you got a Ben Carroll in there. Roach and Keels are freshmen. It's freshmen. Again, you never kind of know with them. So, yeah, the closest thing gets, the tighter I think Duke could get in this game. And, again, that could cost them. For a team in North Carolina, it's kind of just, I think, playing really with house money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and as an 8 seed, you're playing with house money. If you're Duke, this is Coach K's last game. You don't want Coach K's last game being a loss to North Carolina. I'd argue you wouldn't. It's going to be tough either way. But if you're Duke, would you rather lose in the national title or lose this game?
That's tough. I'd probably have to say Monday. I'm just saying because of the rivalry, the way that got to feel. I know losing the national championship game stinks. But the losing to North Carolina ended. At least you can go out and say, "Okay, I beat North Carolina." I think Monday may be worse because it's North Carolina you lost to.
Yeah, probably. You mean Saturday? Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I probably would think that. So for the game, I think in this game, I think this is a really close, really competitive game. But I think the difference in this game is North Carolina is a really good team, but they don't have a player like Paolo Banchero. And I think Paolo Banchero is going to be the difference in this game, and that's why I have Duke winning. And I got Duke advancing to the national championship game Monday night. I think Paolo Banchero was a big game, and I do think 2 of those 4 guys that I mentioned have a big game too. That's why I got Duke advancing to Monday night, and having Coach K's last game be having Coach K play for a national championship in his last game. But Justin, can North Carolina beat Duke for the second time this year?
I got Duke this time. I think they win this thing close. Yeah, I think you mentioned Paolo Banchero. I think makes a difference in this game. I think Mark Williams does stay off foul trouble. He makes a difference inside. He's able to finish. I think Jeremy Roach once again plays well. I'm still not, again, I have to give Coach K credit. Coach K looks like he's actually having fun coaching. I think last year is the first time I've ever seen him smile. He's making adjustments first time in a while. I think because of that, he probably outcoaches Davis in this game. He'll make the right adjustments more so than Davis will. But it'll be interesting. My last thing in this game, and I think a lot of bulletin board material too with the way Duke didn't like that North Carolina did not honor Coach K at Chapel Hill, which I think is ridiculous. I don't think they should have honored him. But
you don't think he should? They should honor Coach K everywhere.
No. Okay. Do you think – because I thought of that – because, if I was a Duke fan, I would have been mad last year you honored Roy Williams. And they would have been the same.
It's Coach K. You got to honor the guy. He's the greatest coach in college basketball. He's the greatest coach in college basketball. You got to honor him.
So he, as an arch rival, would not honor him. Again, I wouldn't, I would never want Syracuse to honor Jim Calhoun. I would never want it vice versa with Jim Boeheim. I don't think you should.
Yeah, but Jim Boeheim, let's be honest. Jim Boeheim is not Coach K, okay? Yeah,
no, I know.
I wouldn't want you kind of honor Jim Boeheim, but Coach K, outside of John Wood, is the greatest coach in the history of college basketball.
Yeah, I'm saying, like, I should have meant this at the beginning. Like, if Jim Boeheim was, like, coach, it was Mike Krzyzewski, UConn still should have honored him. And the same thing with, like, Calhoun to Syracuse. Like, I would not want that. I wouldn't want that as a fan. That's why I don't understand why Duke was so mad about it. But then also, and Duke kind of retaliated by not shaking North Carolina's hands after the game at Cameron Indoors, the final one. So a lot of bulletin board material. And Coach K said, too, after that in his speech of this loss was unacceptable. And, again, I think was kind of taking a shot at North Carolina. Like, it's a rivalry game. You know, I know North Carolina kind of was down here at that point, but it's also motivation for North Carolina. Like, okay, you know, he kind of talked that was a bad loss. And I think North Carolina's probably had that audio on. Probably going to have that audio on all week.
Yeah, it should be a great game. It should be a great game to see these two teams in the Final Four. This is definitely something college basketball needs. If college basketball can't get a big rating a Saturday night, and then if Duke wins can't get a big rating Monday night, the sport is in huge trouble because they should get great ratings for both games, seeing the storylines going into both games.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I didn't see last weekend's numbers, but I know it was up 11, 12% from like 2019. The tournament was up. So the energy was there, and I absolutely would be stunned to see if the numbers were not great for college basketball on Saturday night. I think with those two, and again, you have 4 blue bloods. That's the other. You got, and I know we'll talk about that game, but you got 2 more blue bloods. And so I think it just makes it so much more appealing that you have 4 really teams that everybody knows and, you know, that just has great history. I think it's going to help the sport. So, yeah, I think the numbers should be fine. It's probably going to be one of the better Final Four numbers viewing-wise we've had in a while.
It has to be. It has to be. If these ratings are not really good, the sport, especially Saturday night, and then if Duke wins Monday, the sport is in big, big trouble. But there is another game on Saturday with 2 great programs too, as Villanova and Kansas go up against each other. And I think the big question going into this game is the loss of Justin Moore. How big is the loss of Justin Moore going to be for Villanova? And I think it's going to be big. I think for 2 reasons why. The first reason, and probably one of the most important reasons is it's really going to hurt their depth. Villanova pretty much plays 6 guys, and now Caleb Daniels is going to have to come up, is going to now have to start. So they're really only going to be able to play 5 guys in a game where I didn't love this matchup either. Even if Justin Moore was playing, I still would pick Kansas. But I think that this is going to be a big loss because of their depth. Number 2, their 3-point shooting. I don't think they're going to get enough 3-point shooting with him out. I know Jay Wright is great, and I would take him over Bill Self any day of the week. But I just think on paper, Kansas is just a better team. But Justin, before we get into the game, I'll ask you this: how big of a loss to you is Justin Moore?
Yeah, it's a big loss. You know, he's been a really good player getting to junior. You kind of know the Villanova way here and kind of the leaders that they have. You know, you still got a guy like Colin Gillespie, but Moore is kind of that big kind of shooting guard for him. You know, he's missed a couple games this year. Like, he missed that UConn game. They still put up 85 against UConn. You know, Archie Diacono played well. They're going to have a couple guys step up. But it's a big loss. You know, it's a team. He's a good 3-point shooter. You know, he's averaged 15 points on the year. You know, he's been a leader. And, yeah, you know, you talk about depth. They don't have a ton of it. When we kind of get into it, I'll talk about the 2 guys that I think are going to kind of have a chance to come off the bench here and play well. But, yeah, it's a depth thing. Jay Wright's a great coach. Again, you know, look what happened last year with Colin Gillespie. Everybody wrote them off, thought Winthrop was going to beat them. And then they pretty much gave Baylor a game for the first 20 minutes, you know, and that was the most really anybody gave Baylor in that NCAA tournament last year. So, you know, I give with a week to prepare for this game. I do think Nova keeps this thing close. But, yeah, I think Moore's a big loss here. But, again, with Jay Wright, I think he's got a week to game plan for this. You know, I think they'll figure something out. I won't be totally shocked if Nova knocks off Kansas.
Yeah, because of the coach and because of how good Jay Wright is. And what do you feel like Jay Wright is going to do to contain this Kansas team?
You know, defensively, you know, it'll be interesting because I know the Sweet 16 game, they kind of had Dickerson for a little bit, and then they kind of went Samuels there for a while. Again, he was like, you know, I listened to one of his interviews yesterday. He's like, look, I thought we did a pretty good job on Hunter Dickerson. Even though he had 15 and 15, I still thought we did a pretty good job on him. And I thought they did too, and I, weird, didn't feel like Dickerson had 15 points, 15 rebounds, but he did. I think, defensively to be tough. Dixon's 6'8", McCormick's going to be like 6'10", 6'11". Kansas is a little bit bigger. Jalen Wilson's 6'8", the power forward spot. So that, so for Samuels, if it starts out with him, but I think they're going to try to make Kansas shoot. And again, as we talk about the last game with these domes, Kansas could, shoot 2 for like 17 the first half and through, something like that. It's not crazy. I know Villanova may shoot that as well. But again, like if there's a lot of missed points, Nova can slow this thing down. Nova can keep this thing, in the low 60s, something like that. I think Nova's got a chance. I think, what he's going to try to do, against Kansas defensively, do what he usually does. Try to take the mismatch. And I think that's going to be Dave McCormick's perimeter defense. Try to make him go one-on-one with a Gillespie or another guard or Daniels. And try to get that mismatch and get to the lane and finish. And that's what Villanova wants to do. They want to get to the paint. They want to throw their elbows around. They're going to either draw a foul. They're going to finish it around the rim. And I think that's kind of what Nova's going to do. They attack your weakness. And that's why they've been so successful over the years.
Exactly. So for the game for me, I know Jay Wright is better than Bill Self, but I just think Bill Self clearly is the better team. I think the size is an advantage too, because I don't think Villanova, I don't think Villanova is going to – I think if Villanova struggles to shoot the ball, they're going to be the team in the Final Four that will hurt them the most. If they can't shoot the ball, they're not going to win. If they can't shoot the ball, they will definitely won't win because they don't have the inside game. They're going to need to score more than really score like 50 points against Houston. They're going to score. They need to score a lot more points than that if they're going to beat Kansas. And I just think Kansas, they have one of the best players. Ajabi is one of the best players in the country. Remy Martin has been really good coming off the bench. David McCormick is going to be he's done a really good job in the tournament too. I just think Kansas is clearly the better team. That's why I got them advancing to the national championship game to face Duke Monday night. So it'll be Coach K facing his former team. No, Coach K facing the team he faced for his first national title in his last game in his last game. So I got Kansas headed to the national title, but Justin, can Nova overcome the loss of Justin Moore and get to their third national title game in 6 years?
If Justin Moore's healthy, I'd pick Nova, but without him, I just see it too big of an uphill climb. Caleb Daniels, a Tulane transfer, he's from New Orleans. With some of these tournament storylines, I wouldn't be shocked he comes out here and puts up 30 in the Final Four, being his hometown. It would not surprise me. I got to imagine he's going to have a ton of family and friends on hand. So I think he could have a big day for him, and two guys that I think could possibly step up for Nova is a guy like Brandon Antoine that they're going to need. He's a former 5-star prospect, but the last 3 years has really struggled. He's like a lengthy kind of shooting guard. Can get to the bucket. Like, he's a guy that really not played much at all this year, but they're probably going to have to lean on off the bench. And then another guy in Trey Patterson, who's a 5-star freshman. He hasn't played much at all either, but like, he's got kind of these 5-star guys that, kind of know the rule coming in, and that, freshman year, you may not play a lot. Antoine it's just been injuries. He's, sounds like he's going to be a really talented player if he could ever kind of get healthy. This may be that coming out party for him that kind of gets him going. And I think Colin Gillespie, he's been more passive, and I know in probably Kansas, that's going to be their number one option to shut down. But I think he's got to be more aggressive scoring-wise. Again, I know he can be passive, and he could get 9-10 assists and kind of make everyone else around him better. And that's what makes him such a good point guard. But I think they're going to need him to score in this game. They're going to need him and Daniels, Samuels to score. And, Nova since 2016 in the tournament, 20-3. They know how to win. Jay Wright knows how to win when he gets here. But for the Jayhawks, Ochai Agbaji, really, besides that one half or the second half last week against Miami, he really hasn't had that great of a tournament.
Yeah, but he's getting hot at the right time.
Yeah.
He's getting hot at the right time.
Yeah, and I think that's what they need, because Remy Martin was really being kind of was really carrying them. Christian Brown's been playing really well. He's been shooting the ball well. David McCormick, when he's in double figures, they're 44-9. Kansas, I think, inside they're going to want to try to establish that. Try to get, because again, shooting wise, it may not fall for them early on in this game. If they can tackle them, get Nova in some foul trouble, especially get Dixon or Samuels, where they don't really have any, kind of forward depth outside of the only really guy coming off the bench is Patterson this game. Could be Pat. So, I think, Kansas could get them in foul trouble. I think it's going to be a huge key in this game. But, yeah, I think Kansas just has a little bit more than Nova. I just, I don't know how Villanova can keep this pace at what they want. I think Jay Wright said yesterday that this is the fastest team they play ball all year, and it'll be a test to try to slow them down. I don't know how they're going to be able to do it in this game.
So we both have Duke and Kansas in the national title game. So for Monday night, I got Coach K winning the national championship in his final game. I got the storybook ending. I got Coach K beating Kansas to win the national title in his final game. So for me, Coach K's final win will be winning a national title. Justin, do you have Coach K finishing his career with a national title?
Unfortunately, I do. I can't see Bill Self beating him. I can't see Bill Self being the guy that stands in his way. I think, because again, I just don't think this is the most talented team at Kansas either. And I think that's the thing. And kind of things broke their way in his bracket for him. And I think with Bancaro, that Duke team, again, maybe you just knocked off North Carolina on Saturday night. And, you kind of big spot, who knows, close game and all that. Maybe a little flat early, but no, Bill Self, I think, is a horrible coach. He draws us some really
I would say horrible coach. I just think he's not as great. He's in the Hall of Fame. I just don't think he's as great as people think he is. I mean, I think he's a very good coach. He's just not a great coach. I know he's in the Hall of Fame. He's not a Hall of Fame level coach. He's not a Tom Izzo. He's not a Jay Wright. He's not a Mike Krzyzewski. He's not a Roy Williams or Jim Calhoun. He's not one of those coaches. But he also is he's like Calipari, very similar to Calipari. He's a great recruiter. He's a very good coach.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Self. Again, I think you could do a lot better at Kansas than all this. Again, he's been prone to a lot of upsets in tournament. I just never been a big fan of him. I just think you do a lot better at Kansas. One title in 17 years he's been there? I don't know. To me, it does. I don't know. I think Kansas could do better. But yeah, I can't see him out coaching, Krzyzewski in this game. And I think Duke's talent is better than Kansas's is. And I think that's going to be the difference. I think Duke finds a way to win that game next Monday night.
Yeah, absolutely. Should be a great Final Four. We got four blue blood programs in the Final Four, and obviously a matchup. You couldn't have asked for a better matchup in the second game. So I'm really, really excited for it. It should be a great Final Four. But before we wrap up talking about college basketball, we can't forget about talking about the UConn women, who got a humongous win in double overtime against NC State in Bridgeport on Monday night. And let me tell you, the way Paige Beckers took over that game. Listen, I wasn't a believer in this UConn women's team. I thought they'd get to the Final Four, but before Monday night, I thought they're probably going to get there and lose where they normally lose in national semifinals. And this is Gino's kryptonite throughout his career. He has really, for as great as Gino's been, this is his kryptonite. He has really, really struggled in the national semifinal. He's been great in the national title. He's 11-0 in national title games, but his kryptonite is the national semifinal. But the way Paige Beckers played on Monday night, she took over that game against NC State. And the way Paige is playing, I don't see anyone beating UConn. I think UConn beats Stanford and gets the national title, and I think they beat either South Carolina or Louisville even though they got crushed to South Carolina earlier in the year. I think they win that national title game over South Carolina or Louisville because of the way Paige Beckers is playing.
Yeah, and I bringing up Paige, that's kind of what they've been missing the last couple of years. They're missing that woman that had that killer instinct, like a Brianna Stewart, a Maya Moore, a Diane, like going down that line of just great UConn players. They've missed that the last few years because it's been like the last couple of years. Enrique Wukawale, killed them, and then last year, Ari Thomas at Arizona. They haven't had that girl yet that has had that killer instinct the last couple of years, and that Paige has kind of been that. She was amazing. Again, she was just unconscious there. Late in that second half in both overtimes. And she's from Minneapolis, and that's where the Final Four is being played. She's going home now to play in that Final Four.
Another great storyline. Like Coach K, this is another great storyline.
Yeah, so again, I think, that she's going to be outstanding. I think this tournament, they're going to need her. Stanford still got like Haley Jones and Cameron Brink, who are, two of their top scorers. Like, They have to be tough, and they got one of the best coaches too, the defending champs.
So. Oh yeah, defending champs. Tyra Vanderveer's a great coach. It's gonna be a very tough game.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But again, Haley Jones is a good player, but she's not Paige Beckers though. If Beckers kind of take over, I think they should be able to win this game. I worry UConn just cannot finish layups for whatever reason. They're like the men's team; they can't finish a layup. That again, Indiana. I thought they blew out in the second half, but I thought even the first half they should have put up a lot more than they were because they just did not finish a lot of layups. So they can finish around the rim. I think they should be okay. And yeah, with the way Paige is playing, she's been outstanding.
Oh, without question. I mean, especially on Monday night, because really before Monday night, I really didn't have a ton of confidence in this UConn team, doing anything in the Final Four. But with the way Paige Beckers is playing, that really makes all the difference. It's the best she's looked since the injury.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I thought last year in the tournament she was good, but it was like late moments. There's times you kind of try to get everybody else involved, and I think for her talent level at that point in the game, she's got to be able to take over and take those big shots, and she seems very willing now. And again, they're knocking down like they were. Yeah, she's got to be able to. And yeah, it was with you because all the injuries kind of this year with UConn, it's been a tough year for them. And yeah, like that UCF game. It was just ugly. They really struggled in that one. Just, could not hit late, free throws either. Indiana, yeah, it was just kind of, a team that really hasn't gotten it going. They knocked off a good NC State team. Again, like that South Carolina game, I remember watching that game back in November. They just got physically dominated. And it was a close game until like the fourth quarter. South Carolina just imposed their will on them. And yeah, like an easy Bud too, like that, she's a freshman as well. She's come on now too, in the tournament. So yeah, I'm starting to really think that this UConn team's got a chance because it's crazy. They have not won since 2016, and that's Brianna Stewart's senior year. So it's been a while.
And you talked about players with a killer instinct too. And it's funny how you say they haven't won since Brianna Stewart. That's pretty much the last time they had a play. Paige Beckers is the last time they've had a player as dominant as Brianna Stewart. Because Paige Beckers is now putting herself, if she wins this national title, she puts herself into that conversation with Brianna Stewart, with Maya Moore, and with Diana Taurasi, with Rebecca Lobo. She puts herself in that class.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She will be. And coming in, she had a lot of expertise because that's what everyone thought she was going to be, that next great guard of, that was going to be hanging up there with Maya Moore and Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, and everything else. Yeah, and I think Sue Bird said, her potential is limitless and all that. Like, she's gotten a lot of high praise since the minute she's walked on campus. So, yeah, again, she's such a talented player. Yeah, she'll be right there when she's got still 2 years left to kind of still prove her, to still go out and go win 2 more. Because when she came in, it was like, okay, here we go, 4 straight national championships for UConn once again. They didn't get it last year, but, again, they're looking like they could win 3 straight with the classes that coming in. And, yeah, she's been unbelievable. Yeah, she's going to be one of those, when it's all said and done, she's going to be one of the best players that UConn's had.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So let's get wrap it up for college basketball. But we have a change to the overtime rules in the NFL for the postseason. But before we talk about that, we got a promo from Clovercrest Media.
Come on out for a day of fun to the Cove Kids Classic, presented by Clarity. Friday, May 6, 2022 at Lyman Orchards Golf Club to benefit the Cove Center for Grieving Children. Partnership opportunities are available. All proceeds from the Cove Kids Classic support the Cove's free programs. Please consider partnering with us to continue to support grieving children and teens in 2022 and beyond. For more information or questions, call Allison Gamber at 203-634-0500 or email allison@covect.org. The Cove Kids Classic takes place Friday, May 6th at Lyman Orchards Golf Club. Registration begins at 8 a.m. Shotgun start at 9 a.m. on the player course.
Already yesterday, the NFL approved to change the overtime rules for the postseason, not the regular season. They're the same rules for the regular season. The regular season, if a team gets possession and only kicks a field goal, the other team gets possession. But if a team scores a touchdown, the game is over. But now in the postseason, both teams are guaranteed to get a possession in the postseason. I think we know why they changed this rule was because of that Chiefs-Bills game where the Chiefs got the ball and they scored a touchdown, and Josh Allen didn't get a chance. So, to be honest, and I'm an offensive guy, I don't really like this rule because I didn't mind the way it was. I think you played 60 minutes. You had a chance to win the game. And even for the Bills last year, I mean, just stop the Chiefs with 13 seconds to go and you win the game. And now you complain about the overtime rules. I don't really like the fact they changed the rules. I would have kept it to just the way they had it. I think the way they had it was fine. But they want to see the quarterbacks with the ball in their hands more. That's what the league wanted. So they changed the rules. But honestly, I feel like they should just kept the rules the way they were.
Yeah, again, as you mentioned, just get a stop. I know it's hard to play defense with all the rules, and it's all like it's offensive driven. It's tough for the defense. But yeah, there's 13 seconds left. Just get a stop, and we're not talking about this. That's all you needed to do. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it either. Again, life ain't fair. Again, get a stop. It's harder, yes, than it used to be, but still, just make one stop, get the ball back. Again, I know the coin toss it's a 50-50 thing and all that, but yeah, I didn't really like it. I was fine with the old one. It's gonna, now the second team gets the ball, I guess, kind of know what they got to do to win, which I guess is kind of the same as, applies besides I guess kind of the same rule with the regular season one. If the team doesn't score, the offensive team doesn't score a touchdown. But yeah, I just didn't like it. I thought you just say sort of stuck with the same rule. I was not a big fan of it. I just make a stop. Again, we're not talking about this. I don't really, it's fun to see offense, see like a Josh Allen get another shot down the field, but it's like the way those two teams are scoring, how was the game ever going to end? Like you would have had to put the college of like a, like after a certain number, you had to score a touchdown after 2-point there. You had to do like a 2-point conversion because those two defenses were not really getting many stops in that game. It was gonna be tough, but yeah, I don't get it. Wasn't a big fan of it that they changed the rule.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as I said, I'm not either. I mean, even though I like scoring during the games, I just think in overtime, 60 minutes is enough to win or lose the game. If the game goes into overtime, I didn't even mind. I think the thing is, people complain about the overtime rules. They're much better than they previously were. When it was sudden death, I mean, you pretty much whoever won the coin toss pretty much won the game. So the rules were the rules were improved, but now we're even changing them even more because teams are complaining, and that's the thing. But I don't agree with it. I can live with it, but I disagree with it.
Yeah, I can live with it, but yeah, I'm not. Yeah, still not a big fan of it. Yeah, if you can't win the game in 60 minutes, do you really? You shouldn't really get noticed. Again, especially it's just such a gauntlet too. And you kind of see sometimes like the longer you overtime, especially like those hockey games and the playoffs that go 3, 4, or 5 overtimes. The play doesn't get great either. So it's like the more you guys stay on the field in a game like that, it's just you kind of the product doesn't get the product kind of starts to kind of loosen up, gets a little bit worse. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it either. I'll live with it, but yeah, I didn't really see that it was necessary to change the rule.
Oh yeah, it was. I think it wasn't. And as you said, the only reason they changed this rule is because the Bills complained, because the Bills were upset about the overtime rules. They were upset that Josh Allen didn't get a chance. And the solution there is when there's 13 seconds left to go, stop the other team, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it just just make once after 13 seconds, just hold them. Yeah, Again, we're not talking about it. I know that there was talk after the Patriots beat the Chiefs a couple years ago in this rule. They never changed it, but yeah, now they wait to do it. I know it favors the team that scores first and all that, but I don't like it. But yeah, we just got to live with it for now, and yeah, I kind of think it makes overtime rule. Yeah, it makes a overtime rule take another step back after it took a couple steps forward.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens there. It's not the same in the regular season, but it will be the same it will be the same in the regular season, not the same in the postseason. That's another thing. If you're going to change it for one, just have it for both. Have it for the regular season and the postseason. Yeah,
I didn't get that either. I thought at first it was going to be for both, and then I started reading more. And I was like, just play out. Yeah, I didn't understand that. It's weird that they didn't, but I don't know. I don't know why that would be the case there, that they didn't. I don't know. Because you would think, because I don't know what the real difference would be if it's just for the playoffs instead of the regular season. Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. It's the weird rule that they're putting in here that's only for playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go on to another story with the 49ers. And Kyle Shanahan said yesterday there is a chance that Jimmy Garoppolo could still be on the roster. They could have Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance on the roster this year. And John Lynch said on Monday they don't plan to release Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think eventually, once the closer and closer gets to the draft, I think right now they're just trying to get the right deal. They're probably them and the Panthers. The thing is, the teams are very limited now in terms of who's going to get them. The only team I could see, the only place I could see him going is the Panthers. But I do think like closer and closer to the draft, they're going to try to get a trade, or they're going to eventually release him because there's not much dead money. He's at 1 year left, and there's not much of a cap hit if they get rid of him. There really isn't much dead money on that. It's a $25 million cap hit. So they save like $25 million if they just release if they end up releasing him. So I personally think eventually he's gonna get either traded to the Panthers or released. That's what I think is gonna happen to Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think too. I know it's maybe a long shot, but maybe I see him holding on to him first couple weeks of the season. Maybe a quarterback gets hurt and somebody with 1 year left kind of makes a deal for him, because I saw too they're looking for first, second round picks for him. So maybe there's an injury early on in the season, they can maybe try to trade for him. But yeah, like right now, Carolina, like I know the Steelers are going to try to draft a quarterback, but if they miss out on the guy they want, well, they just try and Trubisky though. Like I don't know, I don't think Garoppolo is probably on their future plans of the guy that they want to be their franchise quarterback. But yeah, there's not really, besides the Panthers right now. It sounds like like Seattle sounds like they're good with Locke. It sounds Houston's okay with Davis Mills. Atlanta wants Marcus Mariota. So yeah, for the most part, the QB carousel is kind of close. So yeah, to me, tough to see where the Niners get to, try to do with them here. But yeah, it's a bad kind of, because the Niners really have to give Lance a shot, because he gave up 4 first-round draft picks, and you kind of want to let Lance kind of be the guy and not have a Jimmy G there in the locker room or in the quarterback room where he could still maybe possibly win that job. But yeah, I think they got to get rid of him at some point.
And you made a good point about Trey Lance. Yeah, you don't want to give up 3 first-round picks and still have Jimmy Garoppolo there in year 2. I think we all knew when the 49ers traded up to get Trey Lance that he was definitely going to be the starter by 2022, and Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be there. So that's why I think it's sooner or later they're going to trade or release him.
Yeah, I think they will too. I think they got to, because they just signed. I know that Sudfield too as another quarterback. So now they got 3 in the roster. So yeah, Sudfield's probably gonna be their backup whenever they get rid of Jimmy G. Yeah, it's just good for Lance to kind of just know that he's kind of the guy. That Jimmy G's gonna be the guy. I mean, Trey Lance is gonna be the guy, and he kind of knows that in that locker room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to keep a guy there. I think last year they just thought Trey Lance wasn't ready. That's why they brought Jimmy G in, and Jimmy G getting the best chance to win. I think a year in the system, it's going to get closer. And when you trade 3 first-round picks for a guy, you got to play that guy. So I think there's a good chance that Garoppolo, they say they're not going to do it, but he's going to get traded or released. But there was a story with the Patriots yesterday, and Bob Kraft spoke at the owners' meetings and said it bothers him that the Patriots have not won a playoff game in 3 years, and he expects it to happen this year, and he expects them to have another good draft. They had a good draft last year, but he said about the other, he thought they had a great draft last year, took a shot at Belichick saying it was better than the last 4 years. So his expectations are that this team needs to win a playoff game. The problem is he watching what's going on around the AFC and watching all the moves that have gone around the AFC? Has he seen the Browns go out and trade for Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper? Has he seen the Raiders go out and trade for Devontae Adams? Has he seen the Chargers go out and sign his guy, J.C. Jackson, and trade for Khalil Mack? And has he seen the Colts trade for Matt Ryan? All these changes are going on around the AFC, and the Patriots have done nothing. And now the owner's expecting, we got to win a playoff game. Right now, I have them as the 12th best team in the AFC. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think there could be trouble in the offseason with the Patriots, seeing the way things are going.
Yeah, Kraft, again, he's been a lifelong fan. He's a fan, really. He's still a true fan of this organization, and he's always kind of put that fan perspective into it. I know nobody feels sorry for us that we haven't won in 3 years in the playoffs, but yeah, I think it's a wake-up call to Bill and kind of like, hey, we need to, we need to start doing some things differently here. Especially last year, they spent $160 million on free agency. They didn't win any, and they got smacked around by Buffalo. Like he spent a lot of money on this team last year, got them the playoffs, but didn't get them much. It got them embarrassed in the playoffs. And yeah, I don't blame them. Again, yeah, with the offense and all this and kind of not having Brady back them up anymore and kind of erasing all those holes. Yeah, I think there is some worry in Bob Kraft there. Bob Kraft now that, hey, this is kind of we didn't do much of free agency last year. Again, Buffalo had what Buffalo did to us last year. In 2 of the 3 games was destroyed us. So yeah, I think I think he is putting some pressure here on Bill Belichick to kind of start making some moves here and to start being competitive because, yeah, in the AFC right now, yeah, I somewhere probably slot in that 10, 11, 12 spot. I have them right now in the AFC, like, somewhere around there. Because, yeah, right now they're just not a very good team right now. And, again, I think in the NFC they'd probably be a playoff team, but AFC, there's no chance. They're not going to be able to keep up with half the quarterbacks in this league. And they didn't really help out Mac Jones at all this offseason either, which I thought. And now your 2 offensive coaches to try to help Mac Jones out are Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So yeah, there's a lot of worry right now.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, you look at what the Dolphins did to help out Tua. They signed Teron Armstead. They went out and got traded for Tyreek Hill. This organization just has not done anything to help Mac Jones, and really it's not done anything. This football team is going to be clearly worse on paper. Their roster is bottom 5 in the AFC. Trading Shaq Mason, not signing J.C. Jackson, pretty much not improving anywhere, and really getting anybody outside of getting Jabril Peppers, who's an average safety. That's pretty much all they've really got on this football team. And it's just the fact is, if Kraft still has these expectations that we need to win a playoff game. Well, you should have said that before free agency. You should have said that before free agency because now you're a team that's going to have a very, very hard time. Maybe you're going to have a very hard time getting into the playoffs. Forget about winning a playoff game. You're going to have a hard time getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, they are. They are now. They're clearly right now the 3rd best team in that division. I don't think the Jets aren't better than them yet, but even the Jets, I think, have proved this offseason too. Like they're not going to be a team you're going to be able to walk over like you did last year. Yeah, we've kind of been over the schedule. It's not an easy schedule they're going to go through this year. Yeah, like Shaq Mason, a guy I don't really know why. Then you bring back Trent Brown, but he hasn't played a full season in the last 5 years. It's just some of the moves that they made. Yeah, like again, it's just head scratchers. It's just and in that AFC now, they're not keeping up with Buffalo. Their defense didn't get any better. How's Buffalo going to punt against them this year? There's no J.C. Jackson. And that's the thing. Yeah, they've gotten worse. And again, it's I'm kind of gearing up. It's going to be a long year because I don't know how our defense make many stops. And even if they do, I like Mac Jones, but again, where have we gotten better offensively for him to upgrade to continue to progress?
Yeah, and the thing is, if Kraft is expecting, we got to win a playoff game, and the team goes like 6-11. Bill Belichick, this is crazy to say, Bill Belichick might be out of a job if this is what Kraft is expecting. And look at this roster. He's expecting a playoff win. Look at this roster. This is a 6-7 win team. There's a good chance Bill could be out of a job.
I think at first they'd probably talk him out of the GM role, and I don't think Bill would be okay with that. Again, I don't know if he'd fire him after this season. I think it would have to be mutual. I don't know if Kraft could fire him, after all he's done. Again, I think he'd be first trying to talk Bill Belichick into trying to change his ways and trying to, spend more, maybe, But again, if it doesn't go right, maybe after the meeting doesn't go well, maybe he says, look, maybe it's time to go for a change. Maybe he gives him a different role, new organization. I don't know what, but maybe something else. Maybe Bill's okay with that, but I think it's tough to fire him. But look, if it's really a bad year and it doesn't get better, and if Kraft really wants to start winning again and all that, maybe I just think with all Bill's done, it's tough to fire him. It might, again, his ways I don't think are working as they were in the past, but it'd be a tough call for Kraft. But yeah, if he wants to start winning and this season goes goes right, I would start by seeing if he'd be okay with letting a GM actually run things and let Bill kind of coach the on-field stuff. But I don't think Bill will be okay with that.
Yeah, it'll probably be not okay, and they'll probably get rid of him if that gets offered to him at the end of the year if the season doesn't go well. But looking at this schedule and looking at this roster, there's more of a chance that things aren't. There's more of a chance this team will finish 7-10, or there's more of a chance this team will finish 7-10 than they're going to finish 11-6. Looking at the schedule, looking at the roster, this is not. I don't mind Mac Jones, but this is just not a team. Mac Jones, doesn't have the talent of Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. He's not a guy that can carry a team. He needs help. And he clearly just doesn't have the help right now. No,
he doesn't. And look, at this point, it's like, okay, you can draft a wide receiver in your first round pick, but it's like, can he come in? But, again, the chances that wide receiver comes in and has a breakout year, like a Jamar Chase that just has that kind of, just that season like he had, like Jamar Chase had last year, it's probably rare, that to have something like that go right. So, yeah, again, it's Aguilar. I think Kendrick Bourne had a decent year. It kind of liked him, but again, yeah, he's nothing special though. So yeah, there's just no help for him. And again, even on the offensive line, you lose a guy like Shaq Mason, and even Shaq Mason's such a huge loss for the team. So yeah, it's disappointing, and I feel bad for Matt because it's like especially he's still on his rookie deal. It's like this is kind of the time where you could go out and spend because you don't have to pay your quarterback big bucks yet.
Look at the Bengals. Look at what the Bengals have done on Burrow's rookie deal. I mean, going out and drafting Jamar Chase, getting key free agent and Trey Hendrickson last year. Look, and they went out and got Lyle Collins this year. Look at what they've done. Look at what the Chargers have done on Justin Herbert's rookie deal. They went out and they drafted.
Mike Williams.
They re-signed Mike Williams. They drafted a left tackle. They signed J.C. Jackson. They went out and they traded for Khalil Mack. They signed Corey Linsley. They drafted Rashawn Slater. So they've done a ton to help him. And look what the Dolphins have done. They went out and signed Teron Armstead and traded for Tyreek Hill. So look at what those teams done on those quarterbacks rookie deals, and look what the Patriots have done. It's not even close. And I don't think the Patriots are putting this quarterback in the best position to succeed.
No, and losing Josh McDaniels too, who's been like the quarterback whisperer, and now you bring in Matt Patricia and Joe Judge to kind of be his two guys. Yeah, it's scary. It's really scary, and again, like I don't know. I don't know how Mac Jones gets better this season. I really don't. You lose a guy like McDaniels, and again, the offensive talent's not getting any better. We'll see what they do in the draft, but. Again, Bill's always a wild card in the draft, so I don't know where he's going to go in that first round. And again, does he even keep his first round pick? Because he usually does not like to keep it. So, yeah, to me, it's just as you mentioned, everybody else in these rookie deals with the quarterbacks have always kind of helped them out. They tried last year, didn't work, but again, it just kind of seems like okay, let's attempt number 2 with it. And I can't see it getting.
And I think it worked a little bit last year. I mean, I wouldn't say it didn't work. They got better. I mean, I think, they weren't great pickups, but I mean, Judon was I know he went MIA the last 4 games, but he was good. Kendrick Bourne was solid. Hunter Henry was decent. It's just the disastrous moves of getting Nelson Aguilar and Jonah Smith. Those were the really bad moves, but there were some moves that worked. But the problem is they improved their team last year. They've gotten worse this year.
Yeah, they've gotten worse. They're clearly the third best team in the division. I just, the one thing is they just don't have a clear number 1 wide receiver for him. Aguilar's not that guy. Kendrick Bourne's not that guy. N'Keal Harry's been a big bust. I like Jacoby Myers, but he's not a number 1. I think that's a big thing that they've really missed out on him. And, they really need that big number 1 wide receiver they tried to find that last year. They were hoping Aguilar was going to be that guy. It's not working. It's not going to work. So, it worked. It got in the playoffs, but it just, again, what did the playoffs really get them last year was an embarrassing loss to the Bills. That's a problem. And again, they're not even a sniff it with this roster this year.
No, not at all. So now that the offseason's kind of wrapping up, we're getting closer to the draft. We'll talk about, to this point, which teams are our winners and losers of the offseason. And we'll start with our winners, and we picked 5 winners and losers. I'll start with mine, and we'll go 5 to 1. And for the winners, number 5, I'm going to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think the biggest reason why they're one of the biggest winner, the biggest reason why they're they're a winner of the offseason is because they got Tom Brady back. Tom Brady is coming back to play for them, and that probably resulted in them signing Chris Godwin and signing Leonard Fournette. So that's why they're one of my winners of the offseason. Number 4, the Miami Dolphins. And we talked about this when we were talking about the Patriots. What do you need to do when your quarterback's on a rookie deal? Help him out and get him players around him. And that's what the Dolphins did. They got the best they got the best tackle, and they signed the best tackle in free agency in Teron Armstead. And they went out and traded for Tyreek Hill. So that's why I got the Dolphins number 4. Number 3, the Denver Broncos. And obviously the biggest reason is they went out and traded for Russell Wilson. And this is and also they signed Randy Gregory and DJ Jones. And this is a pretty good defense. I don't think the defense will be as good because Vic Fangio's gone, but offensively they're markedly better with Russell Wilson as their quarterback. They have pretty good weapons around him with Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and now Javonte Williams. They got pretty good weapons around him. That's why they're number 3. They're one of my winners of the offseason. Number 2, the Cleveland Browns. Going out, realizing that Baker Mayfield wasn't the guy, then trading for Deshaun Watson, signing Amari Cooper. I know Watson's probably going to miss, 4 to 6 games this year, but with these moves, it may not benefit them this year because Watson will be suspended. But to have Deshaun Watson, have a 25-year-old at quarterback like Deshaun Watson, this is going to make them Super Bowl contenders for the next decade. That's why they're my number 2 winner this offseason. And number 1, the Chargers. And just like we said with the Dolphins, they are helping their young quarterback in year 3. They went out, they signed Mike Williams. They went out and they signed J.C. Jackson, and they got Khalil Mack. This is one of the best rosters in football. And with this quarterback, I think this team is the favorite to win the AFC West. That's why they're my biggest winner of the offseason. Justin, your top 5 winners.
My top 5, I'll start. I also have the Buccaneers at number 5. Yeah, with Tom Brady returning, adding in Shaq Mason, re-signing Ryan Jensen, that offensive line should be really good again. Adding Russell Gage from division rival is not a bad weapon as well. Again, Tampa Bay, they should win that division, by a few games. They're still one of the best teams in the league, and adding Tom Brady back, the great pickup for them. They get him unretired. Number 4, I got the Vegas Raiders. I think, with everyone else in that division that got better, again, bringing in Devontae Adams, who's got a really good relationship with Derek Carr playing at college, and then adding Chandler Jones as well on the other side of Max Crosby, and bringing in Josh McDaniels with Waller and Hunter Renfrow. It's gonna be interesting what he does there. Again, after everyone else in that division got it better, and obviously KC's, I know they still lost hope, but they're right there. Vegas, again, they're trying to, they fix that offense a little bit, getting the best wide receiver in the game. Vegas for me is number 4. Number 3, I had the Cleveland Browns bringing in Deshaun Watson. Yes, he'll be suspended. But I also thought, Amari Cooper, bringing him in is a nice piece there at wide receiver. Adding Chase Winovich is a nice depth piece for him on the defense side of the ball. Cleveland finally looks like they could have their franchise quarterback for the first time in a long time. So they were my number 3 winner of the offseason. Number 2 is the Denver Broncos. Bringing in a guy like Russell Wilson, again, it's been a glaring issue for him the last 6 or so years at that quarterback position. And then I think this helps now. Jerry Jeudy unleash his full potential. Obviously last year they really couldn't do that with Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock. Now you got an offensive head coach in there as well. I think for these young weapons who really haven't seen get going yet, I think this year you're going to see them, with the potential and see what they have. So I have Denver being my number 2. And number 1 is the LA Chargers. They upgraded that secondary with J.C. Jackson. They brought in Khalil Mack, bringing back Mike Williams at wide receiver. They got a lot better with Justin Herbert, and in year number 3 for him coming up. And right now, Kansas City losing Tyreek Hill, they are the favorite right now to win that AFC West. I'm with you on that one. So this Chargers team got a lot better. Again, I know we talked about it a couple weeks ago. It all comes down to coaching now for the Chargers. Because on paper, they have a really, really talented roster, and they go out there and be a Super Bowl contender.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it pretty much does. If Brandon Staley doesn't get this team to the playoffs, he's got to be fired.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. With there's no excuse with this roster. I know they have the toughest division in football, but absolutely, if he can not get this team to a playoffs, he's got to be fired because this team is too good, even that division, not to make the playoffs.
Absolutely. So we'll go to our losers of the offseason. We'll start with me. Number 5, the New England Patriots. They really just have not done anything. As we discussed for 15 minutes, this team is worse. Trading Shaq Mason, not re-signing, letting J.C. Jackson walk, and then really not adding another weapon. As of right now, they haven't added another weapon for Mac Jones. As I've said, they are not putting Mac Jones in the best position to succeed like other teams around the AFC are. So that's why they're my number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints, and I think a big reason why is they missed out on Deshaun Watson, and they didn't re-sign Teron Armstead. Also, they didn't re-sign Marcus Williams. Now Malcolm Jenkins retired. I mean, 2 years ago, this was the best roster in football. Now this roster is average with the average to below average quarterback in Jameis Winston. This is a team right now because of their offseason. They're officially in rebuild mode with the other 2 teams, which I will get to in this division. So that's why I have the Saints at number 4. Number 3, another team from the NFC South, the Carolina Panthers, another team that missed out on Deshaun Watson, and now they're planning to go into the season with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback, which I don't think I'm a Sam Darnold guy. I was a Sam Darnold guy coming out, but when he was coming out of USC, but right now I don't think that's a very good idea. I know he was 3-0 with Christian McCaffrey, but you look at the 3 teams he beat. The Jets, I know he beat the Saints, but he also beat the Jets and Texans. Those were 2 of those 3 wins. So I think right now the Panthers, I got their number 3. Number 2, the Seattle Seahawks. They traded Russell Wilson, and they were not in on Deshaun Watson. That really bothered me because now they think that Drew Lock is going to be their guy, which they will be mistaken. That's going to be a huge mistake. There's rumors they might even trade DK Metcalf. So Seattle right now is in full rebuild mode. Clearly the worst team in their division. That's why they're my number 2. And number 1, it's the Atlanta Falcons. And a big reason for this was how close they were to getting Deshaun Watson. They were this close to getting Deshaun Watson. They missed out on him, and that pretty much forced them to trade Matt Ryan. Now they've taken on the biggest dead money cap hit in NFL history. This roster is poor. They're going to start Marcus Mariota. They're in for a disastrous season. The one thing about them is they better hope Kyle Pitts doesn't want out of there by the middle of the season because that's the thing they got to worry about the most this year. They're on their way to a 2-3 win season. This roster is absolutely terrible. So that's why they're my biggest loser of the offseason. Justin, your 5 losers of the offseason.
My 5, I'll start with the Chicago Bears. And I think the Mac Jones thing, they didn't really help out Justin Fields this year. They lost Allen Robinson. They signed Lucas Patrick at the center spot. But again, their offensive line, that did not help their offensive line a ton. They still need a lot of help on that offensive line. They still have one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the league. I don't think they did enough this year to help out Justin Fields. And I think, for me, I think just like the Mac thing, was not great. Number 4, I had the Dallas Cowboys. You let Cooper kind of walk. You let Cedric Wilson walk. You bring in James Washington, who had a really underwhelming career. And then offensive line, you lost Connor Williams and La'el Collins on the offensive line. I think the Cowboys took a step back this year. And I think last year, with everything that's kind of happened this one, they missed their best opportunity last year at making a run to the Super Bowl and getting back there. Now this team, again, I know the NFC East still isn't great, but right now they're, probably second, third best team in that division. They're right there with the Eagles, probably being the second best team in that division. So I think the Dallas Cowboys took a step back. Number 3, I have my New England Patriots. Yeah, they signed Jubil Peppers and Malcolm Butler to 1-year deals, but nothing really too big. You lost Shaq Mason. Ted Kears went to Cincinnati. You let J.C. Jackson walk. They really have not done anything to help out Mac Jones, and it's been a very disappointing, quiet offseason in New England. So they're number 3 for me. Number 2, I had the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, you lost a guy like Russell Wilson. You really haven't put another, Drew Lock has not really shown, that he could be an NFL starting quarterback for a franchise. You also lost Bobby Wagner and you cut Carlos Dunlap as well, and that division's loaded already. It kind of feels like they're on the way to a rebuild mode. I'm surprised Pete Carroll is sticking around. Maybe next year's it for him, but I'm surprised Pete Carroll right now at the time is gonna stick around and coach his team. But so Seattle was my number 2, and number 1, the same with yours, the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, you let Matt Ryan go, and Calvin Ridley suspended all year. But again, he's got no trade value now. You know, you can't trade him this year. Russell Gage, you lost your rival. You got Cordell Patterson back, but obviously this is the worst quarterback room in the league, and you didn't get much assets for your rebuild. You got a 3rd-round pick for Matt Ryan here. Again, it hurts. You really can't lose. You know, you lose Ridley here. You can't really trade him for anything. So I think too, like with Atlanta, you got absolutely no assets to try to help your rebuild mode out here. You know, Atlanta had such a, and as you mentioned too, they just missed out on Deshaun Watson as well. So yeah, it's been a tough offseason for the Falcons, and yeah, just again, I think Atlanta next year really looking like they're going to do worse team in football.
Absolutely, and I had the Cowboys at 6, and I had to pick the Cowboys and Bears right there with my losers. I just for the Cowboys, I still feel like they have Dak Prescott, and it doesn't affect their team. I still think they could very easily be the best team in the division. And then for the Bears, yeah, I do have them as a loser, but I feel like with the new GM, they're going through a rebuilding process right now.
Yeah, no, that could be true. Yeah, if they didn't really want to do much. They're going to try to kind of do things for the draft. Yeah, I just thought maybe with everything you lost Khalil Mack, maybe you kind of try to bring something in here, try to get some flair here with Justin Fields, and kind of like try to get some excitement started in the free agency process. I thought maybe that was something they were going to be able to do, but they just never really did.
Yeah. So it should be interesting. We're getting closer and closer to the draft. We'll definitely be talking about that. But we're gonna wrap up the show talking about the NBA. And last night the Lakers looked absolutely pathetic. I mean, the score did not. I think they lost 128 to 110, but the score did not indicate how much of a blowout that game was. They gave up 82 points in the first half. Right now, they are currently the 11th seed in the Western Conference, and this team has just not gelled at all right now. AD is out. We don't know if he's going to come back, but right now, looking at the Lakers' schedule, looking at what the Lakers have coming up, looking at their schedule, the last 7 games. If you look at that schedule, I mean, it is tough. It is tough. They got to play they got to play the Jazz on the road. They got to play the Suns on the road. They got to play I know the Warriors don't have Steph, but they got to play them on the road. Then they got the Nuggets twice, one of them on the road, and then they have the Pelicans who are fighting for a spot, and they've won an easy game with the Thunder. But looking at the schedule, there is a very, very good chance the Lakers could miss the play-in tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I think, they had the toughest schedule left in the conference or in the entire NBA, in the entire league right now. Again, that you mentioned it was 113 to 84 after 3 quarters last night. And then the Mavericks kind of rested everybody in the 4th quarter, and they kind of took their foot off the gas. So, it's been horrible. And LeBron, I know it's kind of banged up now. Anthony Davis has been out for a while. You can't give Anthony Davis a max contract this July. You can't.
Oh, no way. You can't stay healthy.
No, you can't. You cannot be the face of your franchise. So, it's been a horrible year for the Lakers. They've been horribly defensively. Russell Westbrook was a horrible addition to this team. He's done nothing but hurt them at times and for most of the year. Again, I know AD's been out, and LeBron has played on his head all year. But, man, with everything LeBron's kind of giving him, I know he's kind of out of some injuries, that this team cannot – and this is – when's the last – because as far as I've kind of followed the NBA, I don't think the Eastern Conference has been the better conference of the Western. Like, it's been, 20 years, too? Like, the Western Conference is down this year, and they still seem like they're going to miss the playoffs. It was a down year in the West. Like, imagine if it's a gauntlet like it usually is. Again, things should be much worse for the Lakers, I feel like. So, it's been horrible. It's just been horrible to watch them because they're horribly defensively. Russell Westbrook just shoots them out of games at times. Again, they're really only calling card this year has been LeBron James, and he's done everything he could for this team. But again, he deserves some blame for putting this team together to somewhat degree. But it's been a horrible year for the Lakers, and it's an embarrassment that this team is probably gonna miss the play-in tournament.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely looks like it. I mean, if you look at the Spurs schedule, they got Portland twice, Memphis without Ja Morant at home. I think they still got to go to Denver. They still got to go to Minnesota and Dallas. So those will be tough. But they got Golden State at home without Steph Curry. So they have the easier schedule, and they got the better coach. So there is a very good chance that it could be the Spurs instead of the Lakers. And if you look at the Lakers, I mean, the AD trade for them, I think they had to make it because they needed to get another top player with LeBron. And they don't win that championship without AD, even though they had to give up Lonzo Ball, and Brendan Ingram, and Josh Hart. But the biggest mistake this Lakers team made, this was one of the worst trades in NBA history, was the Lakers trading for Russell Westbrook. Had to give up KCP, Kuzma, and Harrell. They're not great players, but they're NBA players, and they're better with what the Lakers are playing with now. I mean, the Lakers are playing with nobody now that with AD out. I mean, that's really hurt. I mean, they have like borderline, they have like below average to bad NBA players in their starting lineup. And Russell Westbrook, and I've said it for years, this guy was completely overrated. Russell Westbrook, he is totally overrated. I said it for years. The triple-double stuff was fraudulent. I thought he was a very good player, but he's one of the worst MVPs ever in the history of the NBA. And he has proven that this year, and he has proven how terrible of a trade that was.
That was horrible. And I mentioned it before, too. They had Buddy Hield pretty much set in stone. I know Buddy Hield's not a great player, but he would have been a much better fit than Russell Westbrook has for this team. And, yeah, because last year they kind of had some core guys off the bench, like a Harrell. KCP played well for him last year. Like, those were kind of the guys that they needed. Again, it's like they cared about those three guys and really didn't build much around them. I know Malik Monk's had a pretty good year for him. But, like, outside of that, there's just nothing there. It's just a bunch of old veteran guys, like a DJ Augustine. Like, with Westbrook, it's just Avery Bradley's on the team. Like, Dwight Howard's back and now. Like, yeah, it's just like they put those three together and it was like, okay, they'll just figure it out. And they thought maybe these three together, it's going to be good enough. And they'll kind of take out all, like, the they'll make up for all kind of the, other issues that we have in other parts of the lineup, and it just never did. It's just a horrible team constructed wise. I think they're the oldest roster in the league. They have half their teams over 30. Like, it just never. Yeah, it's just been horrible. And Russell Westbrook's. Yeah, he's again, he's not a great shooter. He never has been. And again, he takes 27 shots last night. Like, that's just, again, it's not going to get done from your point guard. If he's hitting those shots, great, but he never does. So. Yeah, he's just been horrible, and Buddy Hield would have been a much better fit for the team.
Yeah, because say you get Buddy Hield, and then you're able to keep, you're able to keep Kuzma, you're able to keep Harrell, you're able to keep KCP. You got those role players. Now, they wouldn't be as good because AD can't stay healthy, but still, say for some reason, AD and LeBron come back and they have those guys, and they're probably not in the play-in tournament. They can make a run now. Being where they are in the play-in tournament, having to win 2 games just to play the Suns in the first round, they're in a terrible spot, and there's really no way this team is going to make it out of the first round.
No, there's no way, especially with how good the Suns are playing right now. They've been great all year, and I know the Suns got them at 6 last year, but but it's a totally different Lakers team this year. I know the Suns took advantage when AD got hurt last year in that series, but the Lakers right now, the way they're playing. Way they play defensively, I can't see. Yeah, I think maybe they'd win a game or 2 against Phoenix, but that'd be it. It's just not a good. It's not a good team. They've been horrible. And can you trust Anthony Davis to come back and play healthy in a full series? No. Again, how much more can LeBron do? Because now he's banged up, but I don't. Again, he's good enough, but at this age, I don't know if he could carry a team for a full 7-game series anymore and then be able to do it for the next round too. I don't know if he's capable of doing that anymore without anybody around him if AD's hurt. And the Suns I think should would beat them in 5-6 games, even though it's gonna be tough to get out of the play. And with the way the Pelicans are playing and even the Timberwolves, there's no way if they somehow sneak in the play-in tournament, there's no way they get out of the play-in tournament.
Exactly. It's just a very, very disappointing season for the Lakers. But we got to move on to the Eastern Conference and 2 teams that could very easily meet in the conference finals. And that was a great game last night between the Sixers and the Bucks. Giannis with that great block at the end to help the Bucks get that win over the Sixers. I think the big question we ask ourselves here is, are these the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference? And this answer might surprise me. I think the Sixers are one of them, but the Bucks are not. And here's a reason why. I just think if you're drafting a team, where would you take Chris Middleton? You definitely wouldn't take him over James Harden. and you definitely wouldn't take him over Kyrie Irving. I think Giannis is outstanding. I think he's one of the best. He's probably top 2. I think he's the second best player in the game. But his lack of three-point shooting, and I've said this for a while, and his, and not having a great number 2 is the reason why I think the Bucks are the third best team in the East. I know they won the championship last year, but there's no way they would have beat the Nets in that series if Kyrie and Harden were healthy, or either one of them was healthy. There's no way they would have beaten the Nets in that series last year. There's no way. So I do think the Bucks are a title contender, but I think they're the third best team in the East. So to answer the question, no, I don't think these are the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference. But Justin, are these the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference?
I don't either. The other night I posted a podcast. I stuck with the I have the Celtics right there. I have the Celtics.
Oh, come on. The Celtics.
Yeah, I love the Celtics.
No. Come on.
Robert Williams will be back in about a month.
I don't even care about Robert Williams coming back. I think the Celtics, this is kind of similar to what the Patriots did. This hot streak is fool's gold, okay? They are not better than the Bucks. They are not better than the Sixers. They are not better than the Nets. And honestly, I don't think they're better than the Heat. I think the winning streak is fool's gold. I think Jason Tatum is a really good player, but he doesn't make guys around him better, and that's going to show up in the postseason. I would not put the Celtics in the top 2. I have the Celtics 5.
Yeah, you have a 5. Again, defensively though, they have guys they can guard, and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I love that combo. Those 2 guys can go. They can go. They can go make their shots. Yeah, they may not make guys better around them. But like Marcus Smart defensively has been great. He's been a great distributor. Derek White's played really well off the bench. And again, he's played with the Spurs. He kind of knows, he's kind of got that winning pedigree.
When's the last time the Spurs have been a championship contender? 2017?
Yeah. Playing that organization always a big plus. I love the way, Brown and Tatum, because you would take Brown and Tatum over, you take Brown over Chris Middleton as your number 2, right?
What do you say?
You would take Jaylen Brown over.
Yeah,
Chris
but
Middleton
it's close. But I'd probably go Jaylen Brown. But the thing is but Giannis is much better than Tatum. I mean, Giannis is clearly better than Tatum. So that's why I would definitely take the Bucks over them.
Yeah, no, I see it. But I think defensively, this Celtics team is going to give anybody a hard time. I think they have enough. Again, I think with 2 guys like Tatum and Brown are good enough. And then I think they have a third. I think it doesn't matter who could that third guy be, but I think they have a bunch of guys each night that could do it. Like, Al Horford's the guy who can get you a double-double. Daniel Theis, he's played. I know he's not a great player, but he's been a serviceable center for the Celtics. He's a great interior defender. I think the Celtics, again, I think they could go on a run. The way this team's been playing since the All-Star break, they've been fun to watch, and I like the way they've been playing. I think Brown and Tatum can go on a run like they did a couple years ago in the bubble.
Yeah, I think the problem with the Celtics is first-year head coach, who I don't trust in the postseason, and really outside of Brown and Tatum, there's really no one else I trust on that team. Even Robert Williams, he averages like 10 points a game. Marcus Smart gets a lot of assists. He's not a great scorer. And Al Horford, his best days I feel like are behind him. So I just don't trust really anybody outside of Brown and Tatum. They got a first year head coach, and if you're drafting a team and you have, maybe we'll compare it to the Bucks, Sixers, and Nets. If you're drafting a team, where are you taking Jason Tatum? If you're out on the playground, you're drafting players. Where are you taking Jason Tatum? You're not taking him over. You're definitely obviously not taking over Kevin Durant. You're not taking him over James Harden. You're not taking him over Joel Embiid. You're not taking him over Giannis. So you're the 5th best player out of those 4 teams. You have the 5th best player and a first-year head coach. So that's why I think the Celtics are good. I just don't think they're as good as their record. I think they've been lucky to have Brown and Tatum healthy. Tatum's played 71 games. Jaylen Brown has played 60 games. The 2 have played 60 games together. There's nobody in the league that's even came close. Harden and Embiid and Durant and Kyrie haven't even came close to that. I know that part of that's because Kyrie didn't get vaccinated. That's another story. But but I think they've had the benefit of Brown and Tatum playing together. I think that's the biggest reason why they have one of the best records in the Eastern Conference. I clearly think they're at best the 4th best team, and I think the 5th best team.
I would take playoff Tatum over playoff Harden though. I'd take him over.
Oh no, I'm never taking. I am never taking Jason Tatum over James Harden.
He's been better in the playoffs though than Harden.
James Harden is clearly a better player than Jason Tatum. And I'm sorry, Harden has not been terrible in the playoffs. What about that run where he was one game away from making the finals? And if Chris Paul is healthy, he wins the championship.
That's probably the 1 year. But like he's had some games where 2 for 18. And I worry too. He can't get to the free throw line 30 times like he used to. He can't do it if he has a bad night. He's not gonna be able to. He's not gonna be able to bail himself out. That's what I worry about. I know you got an Embiid, but again, I thought Giannis did a pretty good job on Embiid last night. He made that huge block shot with the second left. I'd take playoff Tatum over playoff Harden. Tatum was great in 2020. He was great in 2018.
Yeah, but how close was Tatum ever to getting the Celtics to a championship? Let's be real. In 2018, that Eastern Conference was very, very weak, and that's why the Celtics were one game away from the finals. Even in 2020, Harden was definitely closer to getting the 2018 Rockets to a final than Tatum was getting the 2020 Celtics to a championship. So I'm still taking James Harden. Definitely still taking James Harden over Jason Tatum. I know Harden's had his bad days in the postseason. The Game 6 against the Warriors, quitting in Game 6 against the Spurs. But for what he did in 2018 with the Rockets, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt, they probably win the championship. And then you go to last year. He was hurt during that series against the Nets. So I'm still taking James Harden over Jason Tatum, regardless if it's playoffs or regular season.
I know Harden's had some good moments. I think like right now in the future we're talking about like I take Tatum. I can't trust James Harden again since he quit on the Rockets and he got fat. His groin has been an issue. Who doesn't say that's going to become a problem? Tatum's been healthy this year. Just said he's played in 71 games. Again, I think James Harden could shoot you out of a game. I guess Tatum could too as well, but I like his verse. Again, Tatum's a much better defender than James Harden is. I take him defensively over him. I think he could slow down James Harden in a game against the Sixers. I think if Robert Williams is healthy in that series, I take Robert Williams. I think he could defend. Robert Williams is the only player right now in the NBA. His opponents are shooting like less than 40%. I'll take Jason Tatum's defense. I'll take his shot making. Yeah, Harden's probably a more prolific scorer. And again, when Harden's on, he could drop 50. But I don't know if I can trust that in a 7-game series with Harden anymore. I just don't know if I can. I'll take it with Jason Tatum, who's 24 years old.
We'll see. We'll see what happens once we get to the postseason. But one of the big moves that happened last week is the mayor lifted the restrictions for athletes. Eric Adams lifted the restriction for athletes in New York to compete in home games. So now Kyrie Irving can play in home games. And I think this really changes a lot, changes everything. I think the Nets are clearly a top 2 team in the Eastern Conference, especially with Kyrie being able to play home games. They just got to hope they don't play that play-in tournament game in Toronto. They definitely got to hope for that. But, I think right now, if they don't play in Toronto, I think the Nets are the second best team in the Eastern Conference, and they just got to hope they don't meet up with the Sixers before they get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, right now the Nets, I put them. I have them third. I have the Sixers a little bit better. Chemistry wise, I don't know if the Nets can get there. What's going on with Ben Simmons? And could we? I know he's probably like the 4th, 5th probably scoring option in that team. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I can trust James Harden yet. Ben Simmons yet. Joe Harris is out for the remainder of the year. I don't, and I know, and the thing about Durant and Kyrie are too, like, I don't think it doesn't, as long as they just stay out of that play and they don't have to play in Toronto, they'll be fine. Because I think Kyrie and Kevin Durant, Game 7, it doesn't matter if it's Barclays or, Milwaukee, whatever, they're going to go in there. They got a chance. I know home court doesn't matter as much as it used to. And especially when you got 2 guys like that. So it's very close between the Sixers and the Nets for me. Right now, and I know I said I do not really trust James Harden. I like what Joel Embiid did last year.
So do you like the Celtics the best team in the Eastern Conference right now?
Right, the way they're playing, yeah.
The Celtics the best. So you have the Celtics, Nets, or Sixers as top. You have Celtics, Nets, Sixers top 3.
Yep, and then probably Bucks, Heat, and I hate putting the Heat 5th. With all their depth, but like the way they've been playing lately, I haven't not. And
the problem with them is they don't have that true. They probably, if we were saying, like, if you're drafting like Embiid, Harden, Durant, even Kyrie, Tatum, You're probably taking him like 5th or 6th or 7th in a draft, Jimmy Butler.
Yeah. No, probably, and I think they have as much depth as anybody, but yeah, I think, missing that superstar. Because when's the last time the Eastern Conference has been this loaded?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Probably since the 90s?
Close to that, yeah.
Yeah, so I love the Heat and I love that organization, but yeah, I think, their depth, they got great depth, but yeah, I think they're missing that true superstar that could put them over the edge in the playoffs. That's kind of what I worry about the Heat. So that's why I have them 5th, unfortunately. But yeah, I have like the Nets, Sixers, like it's a toss up, and I have the Bucks. But yeah, I think, for me with the Sixers, I look, Embiid's just been an unstoppable force this year. Can I trust Tyrese Maxey in the playoffs this year? Because he's had a really good season. I know he had a bad night last night, but he's been good all year. Like, if he can kind of be that third option for him, I kind of like to see a little bit better than Nets. I just, what's going to happen now that Kyrie can play like every game? Like, does there one game where he's physically, tired after a couple of games, and then also like the last thing too I'll mention for this is the Nets may have to play 3 teams too that are over 50 wins to get to the just to get to the finals. Like that, I think that too. Like it's going to be a gauntlet. Like they're not going to have. I know, like even the Cavs get out. The Cavs are going to be a tough series for somebody, but like it's going to be a gauntlet for them to get out of those 2 rounds. They have to play like the Heat or Bucks to start out, and then maybe playing like the Sixers in like the second round. It's just going to be a gauntlet for them, and I think by the Eastern Conference semifinals or finals, whoever they play, I think Game 6, Game 7, they could kind of wear on because it's going to be a gauntlet for them to get through that.
Absolutely, you made a good point there about because the team that gets the Cavs or the Hawks, if both of them end up making the playoffs, and not the play-in but the playoffs, I think those teams are going to be at an advantage because they're not going to have that tough because one of those teams will win those first round series in 6 games max. These other teams, say the Nets play like the Sixers and Nets play against each other, that's going to be a really competitive series. And then say like the Nets have to play or the Nets or Sixers have to play the Bucks, and they'll say the Bucks beat like the Cavs in the first round. The Bucks will definitely have the advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that could be something that kind of haunts them, by the later time. Yeah, because again, like everybody in the Eastern Conference, like the top 10 right now. And like you saw what the Hawks would do, but last year. But yeah, like again, getting those 1 and 2 seeds in that conference is going to be crucial. They kind of help those guys out.
I don't think the 2 will be. I think the 2 seed's kind of screwed because I think the 2 seed's probably going to play the Nets. I think the 1 seed and the 3 seed, say the Cavaliers make it, they finish top 8. I think the 1 seed and the 3 seed, that's going to be crucial. Yeah,
no, absolutely, yeah, because it's gonna go right down it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point because you don't want to play those Nets in the first round because that's not a good matchup with all the talent they have. So yeah, it's going to be a gauntlet here, the Eastern Conference, in the playoffs here. But yeah, the Nets I think are right there with the Celtics, but the Sixers right now. The Celtics for me right now, like the 1-2.
Yeah, I got my top 5 are Sixers, Nets, Bucks, Heat, and then Celtics.
Yeah, I got so Celtics for me, 2 Sixers, 3 Nets, 4 Bucks, and then 5 Heat.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. They're all contenders to win a championship, so we'll see what happens with those 5 teams. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For our producer, Jace Garcia, did a great job, and for Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week recapping the national championship game. Will Justin have to praise Coach K? After he wins a national championship, and we'll be doing our baseball our preview for the baseball season. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Meat, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting Clovercrest